guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope everybody is having an excellent day today. You're gonna see quite a few videos on the FM3 on this channel, because that thing really intrigues me. Some of you may have seen the previous videos about my first experience with the device, and it was a bit of an adventure. I've also learned an important lesson, and that is you have to learn two pieces of gear. First of all, there's the thing itself, the pedal board and all the buttons and all the functions that are built into the pedal board. But then there's also the software editor, which is to me a totally different thing. I really like working with the software editor because it's really straightforward, it's intuitive, and everything is where I think it should be, so that is really good. But then on the device itself, it is totally different. And I think when you play live, you have to know the device inside out, because if something happens, you need to be able to fix it as soon as possible, which is something we can do really easy with a standard pedal board, but might be near impossible if you don't know the user interface of the hardware device you are using. And I've bumped into quite a few examples of the massive differences between the editor and the user interface on the device itself. It is tempting to just work with the editor, but then you probably run into massive problems when you use a device live. And here's a quick example of something that I was really frustrated with because I couldn't find it on the machine itself. So I will quickly show you that. So for the intro tune, I created a patch based on a Marshall GM45. So I was building this preset on a new preset slot, pulled up the amp, which is Brit GM45. I tweaked some parameters, turned the bass down a bit, the mid down a bit more treble, pulled up a cap. I've got two caps, a 212 and one by 4. Yes, I lowered the high cut on the preamp a bit. That's it. I left the alignment as it is. I find out that if I slightly move the second mic from the second speaker, it sort of creates a little bit of out of phase character to the sound, which is quite nice sometimes. Okay, and then a delay and some reverb, and I've added the same drive in front of the amp, so that sounded really good, really saturated, a lot of gain and all that. And then I thought I want a second sound with basically the same ingredients but a tad less drive on the pedal, sort of a crunch channel actually. Now first of all, you have to know, if you just change the settings on the drive and you save it in your second preset, in your second scene, excuse me, it will also be saved that way on the first scene. Because settings of pedals and amps are not saved within the scene, so they stay global throughout the preset. So if you want to have a different setting to an amp or a pedal for a different scene, you have to use a different channel for that pedal or amp in that second scene. That may sound complicated, and it actually is a bit. So you create a preset. In that preset you have a scene. In that scene there's pedals and there's amps. There's an amp, cab block, whatever. If you create a second scene with more or less the same ingredients, but you want to tweak some of the settings of a pedal or an amp, you have to put that pedal or amp on a separate channel. So that's what I did here in the second preset, scene 2. The drive pedal, which is exactly the same drive as on the first one, as on the first scene, is on a different channel. Otherwise the parameter wouldn't change if I go to a different scene. So that is something that you have to know. That's why these channels are there. And the scenes do remember the channels. So if your first scene uses channel 1 for that drive pedal, and your second scene uses channel B for that drive pedal, it will remember that when you change from one scene to another. I wanted to swap scene 1 and scene 2. because I thought I made a high gain scene in scene 1, and I made a crunch on scene 2, and I want scene 2 to be the first scene. So the crunch first, and then the second scene, the high gain sound. So I called the high gain sound fat and creamy, and I called the crunchy sound cute drive, and I want to swap them. It's pretty straightforward in the software editor. You just go to scenes, and there is a function swap, and then you can swap the current scene, which is the second scene in this case, as you can see, scene 2. Swap the current scene with scene 1. Bam! So now scene 1 is the cute drive, and scene 2 is the full-on distortion, fat and creamy sound. And just to make sure that it changes channels as well, just look at the channel here at the bottom. If I go to 1, the drive is at 2.4. If I go to scene 2, the drive is at 3.49, and it goes to channel A. If I go to scene 1, it goes to channel B, same drive, channel B, different setting of the pedal. So that's how that works. Pretty straightforward and logical. Now let's go to the hardware device, and there it's totally different. So here we are on the FM3. As you can see, scene 1 on this preset is fat and creamy, and scene 2 is the cute drive, and I want to swap them. On the device you have to press layout, and then you have to page all the way to the right to tools. On tools you got a function knob at encoder A, and all the way to the right you have swap scenes. This is where you swap scenes. On D and E it says swap 1, and on E it says with 1. So we're gonna swap 1 with 2, execute, we exit this screen, and there you can see scene 1 is now cute drive and scene 2 is fat and creamy. So that is how you swap scenes on the hardware device. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.